Semakin jauh, semakin aku rasakan betapa dekatnya dirimu di hatiku. Semakin benci, semakin aku tak mampu. Hatiku tetap berkata mencinta. Harus begini, cinta ini takkan mungkin dipaksakan. Sampai saat ini aku tak pernah mengerti. Resah ini selalu saja melekat di hati. Semakin jauh, semakin aku rasakan betapa dekatnya dirimu di hatiku. Semakin benci, semakin aku tak mampu. Hatiku tetap berkata sampai saat ini aku tak pernah mengerti. Resah ini selalu saja melekat di hati. Semakin jauh, semakin aku rasakan betapa dekatnya dirimu di hatiku. Semakin aku tak mampu. Hatiku tetap berkata mencintaimu. Aku tak peduli.
August 11th, here in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. And things are bad. Things are bad, COVID-wise, all over the ASEAN. How bad is it? ICUs are full everywhere. So full that the hospitals are running out of resources and are being forced to ration care. Who can they save with what they have? This is true for the entire ASEAN, with the exception of Singapore, who somehow, for the most part, have been able to keep this thing not as powerful on the island of Singapore itself. However, Singapore doesn't always follow the same rules as everyone else. Their number of dead is probably higher than what they're reporting, perhaps by a factor of maybe 10, because they don't include the comorbids like everyone else does. So, last week, a Malaysian singer named Siti Seta, her family was under quarantine, she and her family of 5, along with their maid, because they were all infected. Apparently the maid had taken the trash out. This is what I read in one of the papers anyway, in the Malay papers. And maybe another neighbor had infected her, but soon the whole house was infected. So 36-year-old Siti Seta had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital Monday last week. And she was in her 8th month of pregnancy, so on Friday they did a C-section to safely deliver her 4th child, her son. Their Indonesian maid passed away the same day. Siti Seta died herself on Monday. So we're hearing of famous people now dying from this because of the Delta variant, which is quite deadly. Up in Vietnam, I got these pics from Hong. Hong is married to this little guy in the picture, and I've been to their home in Tay Ninh, and they're under such a severe lockdown. She sent me these pics showing how the street in front of their house is empty. There's no traffic, there's no one out, nobody walking, nothing, because of COVID restrictions. They cannot go out. It is very bad in Vietnam. I was talking to Kim Phuc last night on my US phone, which works on the Wi-Fi, so basically I can call the US and Canada essentially for free via the Wi-Fi. And I talked to Kim for an hour and a half, and she was telling me about one of the pastors there in Tay Ninh. His father got COVID, died last week, and then his sister died the next day. Now that pastor, Bin Ninh, is in the hospital with COVID too. So things are very bad all around. Could it get worse? Yeah, absolutely. If those who choose not to get vaccines, they're making it worse. People who do not follow the SOPs, like your mask, your face shield, the fact that they go out, they are making it worse. So yesterday in Vietnam, over 300 people died of COVID. And during the 30-year, 10,000-day war, 3 million Vietnamese were killed, averaging about 300 Vietnamese deaths a day. COVID right now is worse than that. But what Kim told me last night, I said, you know, Kim, this is becoming like the Vietnam War. And she said, no, Vernon. And the Vietnam War was actually better because they could go shopping every day. You can't do that right now because of COVID in Vietnam. So during the war, at least in the daytime, life was much better than in Vietnam than it is right now because of COVID, because of what COVID is doing up there. Same thing here in Malaysia. It's run the poor out of money. The joke is that the bottom 40, what they call the B40, bottom 40% of the economy have now become the B60. And the government has asked the T20, that's the top 20 of the top 20% of the richest residents and citizens here in Malaysia, to rescue the economy, to spend their money and buy things to help people along. So we had to go to immigration last week to extend my spousal visa for another year. And the appointment was for last Thursday. And we get there, we wait, and about an hour and a half, their computer went down and they stamped my paperwork and said, what day can you come back? I said, I can come back Sunday. So we went back Sunday, and I sat there with my face shield and my mask because RESPECT, I always wear my PPE. I don't want to die from this thing. And I don't want to kill other people because I don't want to be stupid and foolish. You know, I'm certainly not a vaccine virgin. I lost my vaccine virginity almost 3 weeks ago, and I get my second jab in 2 more days. Hallelujah, praise God, right? Okay. So went back Sunday, and a nice rainstorm moved in while we waited undercover, and I got called in and handed my paperwork in, and wait, and then my number's called, go pay, wait. I think the fee was it's 96 ringgits, it's about 23 American dollars, that's it. And then they said, okay, lunchtime, everybody leave. Well, so you leave, but you can't go to lunch. Where are you gonna eat? Everything's closed. Dine out only, and we don't have a car. So, wait, go back up. About an hour later, Vernon Thede, here's your passport, check the visa. Hey, good for another year, and then back to the house. Now, funny thing is, we always take Grab when we go out, but under the current SOPs, you cannot put 2 passengers in a Grab. So, because Maureen needed to be at immigration too, to say, yes, this is my husband, we're still married, here's the marriage certificate, everything is hunky-dory. We have to take 2 Grabs. Costs a little more, but you know, to get there, how much was it? I think about $3.80 each direction. So, okay, so the Grab drivers can make a little money. That's fine with me. And we're following the SOPs that the government has put in place. Yeah. And if everybody will do that, maybe this thing will go away faster. Now, we do have the vaccine jabs up to 69.8%, or was it 68.9%? We're only 2.6 percentage points behind the USA, and we're going to pass the USA in about 4 or 5 days, and we will reach herd immunity before the USA does. And we're going to see how effective that is against this Delta variant and any other variants. Because we need to get the country back open. We can't have these factories closed forever. This isn't going to work. I understand the government is doing their best. No issue there. But the rest of us need to do our best. And I think that's where the problem lies. We have too many stubborn people out there. When I look at the news in America, I'm just really shocked. I'm really shocked that Americans can be so stubborn. I mean, what's wrong with them? And the ones who say they are Christians, I'm not going to get vaccinated because I'm a Christian. Read your Bible, man. You are you are God's temple, and you are to protect that temple. And a vaccine is going to do that. COVID will kill you. It takes out 2.36% of everyone it infects. That's 1 in every 43 or something like that. The vaccine, if it kills anybody, maybe 1 in a million. What are the better odds, mate? You tell me. Do the math. Okay, now, moving on. So, a lot of people hungry. Thailand people hungry. Malaysia people hungry. Some are putting white flags out when they're just out of options. And that's okay. Neighbors are responding. Businesses are responding. Down in Indonesia, a lot of people out of work. They don't make much money to begin with. And this is running them out of cash and food. So, over 200 miles to our west in Pekanbaru, Johnny and Anna run the Insan Permata orphanage with about 45 kids right now. And they've had extra food. So they've had the kids making food and taking it out to feed some of the scavenger families at the Muar Fajar landfill outside of town. Indonesia has 4 million scavengers who just roam through landfills and trash looking for things they can use, eat, sell. This is one of the reasons TB is such a problem in Indonesia. Of course, now COVID is the big problem in Indonesia. And that's good, because even though they're an orphanage and they're poor, they right now have enough that they can share of their surplus provisions with the needier. And this is why I like the Insan Permata home, because they're not enriching themselves. And shame on anyone who calls himself a Christian leader and creates a ministry and makes himself very rich off it. Shame on you. That's what I have to say to you. Okay, I'm not paid. Our caregivers get room and board. They might get $50 a month, if there's $50 a month. A house parent might get $150 a month, just one. But usually no. Usually it's just room and board, and if they have any kids, well, we'll send the kids to school and to college too, because college doesn't cost very much in Indonesia. So our 435 kids are managing. Insan Permata Home has been able to start building their 2 buildings. I thought it was going to be 1 building of 10,000 square feet. This is for additional classrooms, so they can go from K to 1 all the way to K through 12. That way they don't have to run the kids into town on the dangerous Jalan Garuda Sakti highway full of heavy trucks. And it's just, it's not much of a highway. It's more of a 2-lane oil field type road, but it's full of heavy traffic and heavy lorries. Very dangerous when the kids triple up on scooters and head a few miles off to school like that. Well, by having the school on the orphanage grounds, that's even better, because it's a time saver. They can go right to class, come back from class, saving probably 50-minute round trip or an hour round trip of commuting to school. That's an hour they can study or do other things. They can be more productive. And they also bring in some of the poorer kids in the area, because there's just so much poverty on the island of Sumatra. People earn very little for what they do. If they have a factory job, they do okay. They're doing better. There are more factories moving in, but Sumatra has issues like the power grid isn't that reliable. So most businesses have to install generator sets. Most hotels have gen sets. And the island is still not electrically tied to the island of Java or to the Malay Peninsula where we live. We have a very stable grid here in Malaysia. This is a great place for business here in Malaysia, because the grid never goes down. It's more reliable than when I lived in California. Of course, we know California is a failed state, but that is an issue for another time. I think they ought to break California up into more manageable pieces frankly. It's California's really crapped on itself, and if the rest of the country follows California's example, the U.S. doesn't have a lot of hope. Now, there are places like Texas that seem to lead the way, but again, that's for another day. Texas has no state income tax, and if you're going to move overseas, if you go from California to, say, Indonesia, and you retire to Indonesia, California is going to expect you to fill out a California state income tax return every year, because they make the assumption you're coming back, even though you may never come back. And legally, by law, you're required to do that. There's a workaround. Move to a state like Texas that doesn't have a state income tax. Move there first, establish residency, sell your house in California, just cut all your ties, and once you've established Texas as your tax domicile, that you're resident there, then you make the move abroad, and you will never pay any state income tax ever again. You will still be required to pay a federal income tax. You will still be required to fill out a federal tax return. If you are a Christian, you do that because Romans 13 tells us that. We are to obey the authorities because they are God's servants to do us good. And so we need to be tax compliant. That's the word I use. But that being said, if you can move your money into a Roth IRA and pay the taxes up front and never pay taxes on the gains ever again, and you've got that Roth IRA now in a commission-free account, so you can trade commission-free and there's no tax, man, you got it made. Hey, you did your part. You paid a lot of taxes and you paid the taxes up front. That's okay. We expect our government to be efficient with money, and right now they're not. They need to be. Singapore is right off my balcony, right over here. And their government it doesn't take a lot of the GDP. I think it's 12% of GDP. The USA, when you add all the taxes up, it's 40%. Come on, man, what's wrong with that? Singapore, world's best healthcare system, takes only 5% of their GDP. USA, healthcare system, way down the list. Doesn't even rank in the top 10, it's way down there. And yet it's the world's most expensive, takes almost 20% of American GDP. How did I get on this topic? Anyway, if you move abroad to work with, for example, our kids and foot wash our kids, God's just going to take care of you because He's going to lower your expenses. He's going to lower your healthcare expenses, your living expenses, and He's going to enable you to do even more than you think you can do for these kids. So we've got, like I said, just under 450 kids, somewhere between 400 and 450. It fluctuates. Right now with COVID, it's fluctuating even more. And when this goes away, come on over and visit the kids and watch them, go visit them in school, see them in their classrooms, and talk to their teachers, talk to their caregivers, talk to the kids, find out their stories, Why are you here, man? Usually it's because maybe the dad died or both parents died. Sometimes it's from tuberculosis. And the life expectancy in these countries is just not as high as it is in more modern countries like Singapore and the USA. So we end up with a lot of kids that have nowhere to go, and often the relatives are too poor to take care of them. And sometimes a relative will take one or more of them back. But then too often that winds up in the same cycle. They just wind up working in the fields, the rice paddies, doing unsustainable farming because it's all done by hand. There's very little mechanization, and that's why they're poor. If they stay with us and they go to university and they become nurses and engineers and doctors and lawyers and accountants, they not only will be blessed for the rest of their lives. Take a kid right now who's 16 and he's probably and he might live another, say, 70 years. Well, by prepping and sending him to uni, we're blessing him not only now, and her, but for the next 70 years. I won't be here much more than another 30 years. So even for 4 decades after I'm dead, the kids we're blessing and teaching and mentoring right now will be blessed for decades after we're gone. And this is what it's all about. And maybe when we start taking care of each other a little more like this, the fatherless, the widow, then God will order the 4th horseman of the apocalypse, who is spreading pestilence like COVID, to stand down. But when the world is wicked, when it embraces wickedness like homosexuality, How did you think God was going to respond to that? Well, he sent AIDS. And with AIDS, TB ramped up and exploded around the world. And now we have COVID. This is how God responds. If you embrace the devil, if you reject God's grace and his love and his kindness, well, all bets are off. So is it any surprise we're seeing fires in California and in Greece? Look at California. Look at the wickedness that state embraces. And I know I lived there for 15 years. I worked there. And I couldn't believe what was happening to the place because the wicked are in charge there. And, do you want your leader, for example, the governor of Oregon is bisexual. That means she loves to hop in the sack and have a fling with other women. Do you want someone like that in charge of your children, in charge of your economy, in charge of your country? That's why wrath is coming down from on high. But, we who live for Christ, God protects us because we don't subscribe to their wicked way of thinking.
Semakin jauh